Okay, welcome everybody to Collective College and this session on self-evaluation. Lovely to see you. Julia, Rhiannon and myself will be guiding you through the session using a series of questions that will hopefully, through discussion, enable you to reflect on the important aspects of your life as a singer. Some of you may already be familiar with self-evaluation in your working environments. Okay, those of you who are teachers will definitely know about it. There is no compulsion, right, for you to offer an answer, right, to any question. You may wish to simply listen to others speak. If you do that, you'll still gain a lot, right, from the session. Clearly, if nobody speaks, then this session will be over before it takes time to sing happy birthday. So, without further ado, okay, let's move to the first question. So the first question is, what is self-evaluation and why is it important to you as a singer? Anybody like to offer their thoughts? Nicola?
It's looking at yourself, and it's really important to look at the positives and the negatives of yourself so you can improve as a singer.
Okay, thank you. Rita, did you have your hand up?
I did. It was very much the same as Nicola there. It's about understanding where you are so you can move forward.
Okay. Julia?
For me, it's about self-kindness as well, about sort of focusing on the positive things rather than the things that the negative things I need to focus on. It's kind of maybe looking at myself in the way that other people might look at me rather than jumping to the negative side.
Yeah, good point. Good point. We always tend to concentrate on our weaknesses rather than our strengths. Okay. Any other ideas? Susan?
I think of self-evaluation as a realistic view at both my positives, what I'm good at and what I need to become better at, just like Julia said, but it's a realistic view.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay, good. Right, okay. So within the singing environment, it's just exactly the same as if you were using self-evaluation in the working environment. Okay, about making ourselves better, looking at our strengths, okay, realizing our weaknesses, but not letting our weaknesses weigh us down. Okay. Okay, right. Let's move on to question 2. Okay, what are your thoughts about your own singing? Okay, I know this is very personal. Anybody got any thoughts about their own singing? Risa?
I think that I'm a bit of imposter syndrome. I think that I'm not as good a singer as other people think I am, and that someday soon they're going to find me out.
I love that. Such honesty, Rita, such honesty. Okay, thanks for that. Anybody else? Susan?
I think I like my voice more than other people do because I sing all the time. I hum all the time. I've been told multiple times in my family environment, Mom, stop it, just stop it. So I get enjoyment out of it regardless. And I just sing all the time.
Okay.
Not always a good thing.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks. That's good. Do you actually know what you're doing well?
I think Melanie had a hand up, Mike, as well.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Melanie.
Well, that's okay. Just the other way around as Susan, actually, because if I sing or hum, well, if they tell me to stop it, I will think, I'm not going to do that anymore. So just the other way, just not like, yeah, well, I'm happy enough with that. I'll just shut up and don't do it again.
Okay. Yeah. Julia?
I find it sort of hard to, I don't know whether it's a British thing about not complimenting yourself and things, but my grandma said to me when I was younger, oh, you're like me, we can't sing. And so then when I started singing and people were telling me that they were liking the sound of my voice, I just couldn't quite accept that it was okay, because I think when you're told something from being quite little, and I don't think it was meant in a horrible way, I think it was just meant as a, I don't know, but it again, it's the imposter syndrome, isn't it? That you sort of start to think, I'm not sure whether I'm doing a good enough job or not. Am I singing in tune? Are other people enjoying this, or is it just me having a great time with it? So I think we tend to err on the side of caution a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, we're quite vulnerable, I think, aren't we? Right, we're very vulnerable to what other people say and what other people think, and actually people's facial expressions when we sing, that can say more than them speaking. Okay, right. Let's move on. Okay, this is an interesting one. How did you feel the last time someone praised you? Rita.
You're going to love my answer. Whenever anybody praises me, I think they're just being kind. I don't believe them.
Yeah.
So you were really surprised, were you, Rita?
Yeah, and I just don't believe them. I just think they're being nice.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, Nicola.
I've just recently learned to take the compliment, because normally I'd say, oh, thanks very much, and then like say something to the negative. I go, thanks so much. Yeah, I've still got loads to do. That bit wasn't great and things like that, because you are your own worst critic. And then, but actually I've learned to say, oh, thank you, or inside go, yay. Just something like, take it, because someone's saying something really nice and they know what they're talking about. So say thank you and take it in and like process what they've said and ignore that little nagging doubt in your head.
I love that, because that's exactly how I am as well. I get embarrassed when people compliment me, which is terrible, and I just can't get it out of my system. Julia.
My first chorus rehearsal that I went to, when I didn't know anybody at all, by the end of the rehearsal, I'd had 2 people approach me and asking me if I wanted to sing in quartets with them, because they thought I had a really nice lady bass voice, and it knocked me sideways to begin with. But then after that, I was smiling all week, because I just thought, wow, somebody's complimented me on my singing. I'd never had it before, and it was such a high. So as you said, it's really hard to take actually sometimes, and you're not quite sure how to feel about it, but it does really, I mean, I was just smiling after it for such a long time, because I just thought, somebody's praised me for my singing. That's never happened before, and it was a really lovely thing.
Yeah. Did you go sort of weak at the knees?
A little bit, yeah. Again, and then imposter syndrome kicked in.
Oh, there's an underlying theme here, isn't there? No, there's an underlying theme. Yeah, Nicola has just answered question 4, but I imagine Nicola's answer to question 4 was actually going to be everybody's answer. Who is your toughest critic? Oh, yes. Yeah, everybody is their toughest critic. Yeah, that's right. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think, Rita?
I don't think it has to be a bad thing. I think it comes back to the value of self-evaluation. But you have to be able to see the good as well as the bad. And culturally, I think that certainly the Brits tend to zero in on the negative rather than enjoy the positive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Julia.
I think it's something that changes, because I think when you're children, you're encouraged so much and made to sort of really believe in yourself and think you can do everything. And then when you're adults, it's almost a shift in your approach to how you do with things. And I think we're trying to build children up so much when they're little, and then as you become an adult, it's almost like you start to see more of the critical negative side of things. And I don't know whether it is a cultural thing or whether it's just the way it goes as you get older. I don't know, but it's strange, isn't it, when you put so much energy into building children up and making them believe they can do anything, and then that kind of peters off as you get older.
Yeah. Melanie?
I also think that adults don't do that to other adults. You do that to children. You say to them, well done, or do it again, or try again. A child learns to walk by doing it like 100 times and falling over. And if we're like doing it once or twice and we're like, not that good, you stop trying. And nobody tells you to try like 1,000 times, mostly. So that might not help, actually.
Yeah, true. Yeah, when you take it to its extreme, it can be actually very unhealthy. I mean, you can imagine these, for instance, these painters who actually repaint their painting about 30 times. That's taking it really to its extreme. Not happy with it, so paint it again, paint it again, paint it again, paint it again. If you actually take that into your singing life, then boy oh boy, you'll never be happy. So I think there's a sort of a sliding scale. We're always tough on ourselves, too tough on ourselves, I think. So I think really we need to sort of be a little bit kinder. Right. Oh, sorry, Ray.
I was just going to say that I think the collective had kind of helped me with that a little bit more, because I am pretty tough on myself, always. But now I adopt it's good enough, rather than having to do things over and over again. And that's helped me. So yeah, that's actually not too bad. And you're quite right, Melanie. We wouldn't say things like mean things to other people, so why do we do it to ourselves, really? So yeah. I'm trying to adopt the good enough syndrome and not do too many recordings either.
Yeah, I think that's really good, Ray. That's really healthy. I remember I've had a few students over the years who have really put, well, you can't really put 1,000% into work, but they do absolutely everything on every piece of work in every subject, and that just isn't healthy. Like Ree says, okay, it's good enough. Yeah, it's good enough. It will do. Julia?
I've had students before who've had so much pressure put on them by themselves, but also by other members of staff. And when I've spoken to them, I've said, that you're important as well, and your health and your mental health. And they've said, you're the only member of staff that said that to us. Everybody else is telling us that we must get the best grades and we must be working all the time. And I think it is dangerous that we can have that same approach. As Ree was saying about doing lots of recordings, we've all been guilty of doing far too many recordings and still not being happy with them and putting so much pressure on ourselves to the point where our voices are worn out. And I think we also need to look out for ourselves and our physical and our mental health and our vocal health as well. And it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Susan?
I want to clarify something that I said earlier when you asked, what do you think about your own voice? I don't mean that I don't think that I have things to work on. I just mean that I enjoy the singing and I do it often around my house. So that, to clarify that. But also, self-criticism can be immobilizing, and it can get to the point where you become unable to go on and or to do anything or to press send on a recording. I've done that. I've been at that point where I listen and listen and listen, and it's like not good enough, not right enough. Whatever. So sometimes we need a little bit of kindness and grace for ourselves. And I agree with who, I can't remember who said it before. I think it was you, Nicola, just to be kind, and Julia. But I think that's really important, because otherwise we can become just stuck where we can't do anything, which is not a good place to be.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Question 5. Has your singing improved over the last 18 months? Okay, that's about the length of time the collective has been going. Okay, so these hands up for yes. Melanie?
I'm not sure if my singing got better, but I got better in feeling better about it. I'm not sure because I didn't record myself, where sometimes I did for other singers for like bits of music that they needed to learn, but I never listened to that myself. So I won't know, but I'm, as Julia said, I'm kinder to myself at least now.
That's good. Rita?
I would say that my voice has improved. I think that when I'm confident, I sing better. And I think that what's happened to me over the last 15 months is I've gained confidence. And I've said it a number of times to people, I hope that I maintain that confidence when it comes to singing to real people in real life, because confidence is something that is a real performance killer for anybody, but it is certainly for me.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay, anybody else? I'll put my hand up. My singing has vastly improved. And I think it's because, on a personal level, I think it's the process of the collective which has done that. Okay, I think it's the process, the vocal warm-ups, the physical warm-ups, and the process of going from the start of the song to the completion of the song. And that is a process, really, which I think is fantastic for me, personally, anyway. And probably for all of us, I'm sure. Julia?
I think what other people have been saying as well, I think probably my confidence has improved, which means that my belief in myself to be able to do it has definitely improved. I think sort of having the confidence, as you said, to record something and decide that, yes, I've got the notes and the words right most of the time, I think. And I don't think maybe I'll do a better job if I do it again. And I'm happy with it. And, you know, I remember the first recording I ever did, I did about 6 or 7 recordings, and I messaged Simon and I said, I don't think I can actually sing, so I'm not going to send this in because it's terrible. And then I went off downstairs and had a cup of tea and came back and got over myself. Because, you know, it was I'd completely convinced myself I couldn't do it. But I think it's my approach to myself and my singing, and the fact that it brings me so much joy, and it's been such a wonderful mood booster and method of making new friends and believing in myself in many ways. Actually, through the singing, it's given me more confidence, and I think it's given me more confidence that when we come back to live rehearsals, that I will step up maybe and put myself out there a little bit more to do things with singing and not hide behind my score quite so much. Maybe look at the audience rather than fix my gaze on a spot on the back wall because I'm terrified that somebody's going to see me when I'm singing.
We've all been there. Susan?
Unmute yourself. Part of the collective that has made me feel like I have become a better singer during this time is that I am allowed to, I'm singing different vocal lines. I'm a barbershopper and I always sing the lead line, but in the collective, I can pick what the part I want to sing, which is sometimes it's harmony. Leads don't get to sing harmony. So I'm learning how to do that. And I'm finding that with following the directions that Simon gives about listening and before you sing, that I'm learning. I'm not a good sight reader, but I can, because I'm not a music reader, but I'm learning how to sight read and feel more comfortable with listening and watching and singing and just with the listening part. So, I mean, I think it's just exposed me to different ways, different learning styles, and also different types of music and different vocal lines. So that's all been a great exercise during this time.
Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. So we've all improved over the last 18 months. Have we congratulated ourselves? Rhiannon?
I just wanted to say that for me, these last 18 months have been, it's it's been continuous singing, and in my roles before as a director, you're telling people or guiding them through different things. And whilst you can model things and sing things, it's not the same as actually having to go through the process of actually learning it and singing it and doing all of those things. So I'm pretty much like you, Mike. I love the process that we go through, and it's enabled me to to focus on singing the whole time. So even if I'm, you know, talking to people in my session, and it's not my session, it's their session, in the session, I can model my voice, and I can hear that my voice isn't as weak. Or maybe I'm more aware of where I need to put more control in because of the age factor for me. And my voice has changed a lot because of all the things that happen over the time. And all our voices will change as we get older. And that's something else that we have to. And when with those vocal changes that were happening, and not using my voice as a singer, it was a double whammy in many ways. And so this has been an opportunity to strengthen my voice and make me a little bit more confident that I can do it, be more consistent, which is what I want to be. And I think some of the singers feel the same. They feel that because they weren't using their voices, they felt they were losing their voices, and being able to join with the collective and have those continuous sessions, quite intensive at some times, other times not as often, but they were just saying, I found my voice again, and I can sing. And I think that's how I think, you know, the last 18 months have affected me in singing. I feel more relaxed about singing in front of people than I did when I went into the collective. Not because I couldn't, but because of all the other things I could hear in my voice. And so that's why the process has suited me the same as it has others, I think.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that, Ree. So let's give ourselves a pat on the back, shall we? Because we have improved. Okay, good. I will read you this quote from Jean Kaplan, collective choir member, because I think this is very important. When I first read this, which she put on the Facebook members page, I thought, wow, I love that. And she said, I'm excellent at hearing what's gone wrong, and that often deafens me to what is going right. And I think that hits the nail on the head. Okay, question 6. Name 2 things that you are good at when singing. 2 things. Don't be bashful. Rita.
I'll start. Two things that I'm good at. I can work the rhythm. I get the rhythm right, and I seem to pick it up quicker than others might. So I'm proud of how I can work the rhythm of the harmony part against the other parts, and I am pretty good at following the dots. I get the tune right.
Okay, great. Thank you. Nicola.
I can hold my pitch. I'm not one to drop, which is helpful because in barbershop I sing bass. So if I drop, we're all stuck, aren't we? And I might end up in a realm where I can't sing that low anymore because I am not a male bass. And as much as I would like to sing those low notes, I have a limit, and I know where that limit is, and I don't try and push it beyond that. So yeah, I can hold a pitch. And the other one is I'm a pretty fast learner. So I like to listen to it. After years of reading music as a wind instrument player, actually as a singer, I prefer to hear it rather than see it. I can pick that up better.
Okay, interesting. Okay, anybody else? Julia.
I've always been quite good at learning words, but I'm finding that I'm getting better at combination of sight singing, which I didn't think I would ever get the hang of. I've always been good at sight reading when it comes to playing the piano or playing the flute, but sight singing I used to find really tricky. But also using the tracks more and trusting what my ears are hearing. I'm definitely improving with that, I think, and sort of just the whole process of learning seems to be going better, which I'm really, really pleased about. And I think as well, just having that self-belief that we've all talked about, that's hopefully improving and increasing as we go along, sort of knowing that I know it and trusting myself to put the score to one side and singing what I know because it's in there. And often having the score can be a little bit of a security blanket, and we don't need it really. And if we put it to one side, your performance improves, you smile more because you're not constantly thinking, well, I'm not sure whether I've sung a G sharp, or should that have been an F sharp, or what note was that? You just kind of go with the fact that you know it and you've put the work in and it's there.
Okay. Nice. Thank you. Susan.
I think staring at ourselves in these little boxes has made all of us more aware of our performances and how we look when we're singing. I know that when the ninja breath idea came through, I've always had to do planned breaths in choral singing because I'm an a cappella singer. But I would take a breath and just stop moving my mouth until I was watching myself, and you have to fake it. You know, that's something that I've learned, that you still have to look like you're singing even if you're breathing. So you can't escape from your own visual. And I think we've all learned to just be better performers because of Zoom.
Yeah, you're dead right. Yeah, that little box. Okay, anybody else? Okay, all right, moving on. Okay, question 7. Name one thing you would like to improve. Only one thing. Put the list down. Nicola.
I want to regain my breath control. That's one thing I have lost during the pandemic, is however much I've been singing, and I have kept up my singing, it's not standing for 2.5, 3 hours of an evening singing all that time and standing up and all that effort that it goes with it. And I know that's something I need to improve on as I go forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my big thing.
Yeah. Mel.
I don't think, not even just the breath control, but just singing for longer than, I don't know, 3 minutes. It seems impossible, kind of. If you like have a session where you're singing a lot, you just get tired. So like a performance for an audience, like 20 minutes of just singing. Wow.
Yeah.
Should be hard, I think.
It's a long time. Anybody else? Rita?
I would certainly have a vote for the breath support, but for me, and combined with that, it's actually strongly linked for me. It's the performance anxiety. It's been better in Zoom. I find I can sing and speak in Zoom at a level of confidence that I've not had before. But I know that that's one thing that I'm battling with when I return to real singing. As soon as I get into the performance anxiety, my breath control, what little I have, goes out the window. So that's a big point. If I could sort that one out, I would be very happy.
So is that to do with nerves then, do you think?
Well, yeah, it's performance anxiety. I get it when I speak in public, even with people I know very well. I can start to not exactly stammer, but I don't think it's far off it. But when it comes to singing, I get breathless, and it's just very difficult for me to do what little I can do when I'm feeling comfortable in my comfort zone.
Okay. Well, I know what it's like to have a stammer because I used to have one. In fact, I still had it when I started teaching. And teaching actually forced me to get rid of it. I had a stammer at the altar when I got married. That was really embarrassing. Julia.
Again, mine's a performance one, but not necessarily to do with breath control. It's actually the physical performance of songs, because I am a flute player. And so I'm used to sitting in the band with other people or being in the pit where nobody can see me for performances. So I'm still very much aware of what I'm doing, and this has definitely helped, having these little squares, because you're acutely aware of what your face is doing. My issue is that everybody thinks because I'm a chatterbox, I'm really, really confident, and I'm not. It's all smoke and mirrors. So actually having to perform a song and sort of try and convey emotion and convey getting my face to tell the story, I find it quite hard, and I feel quite vulnerable. I think it's not my comfort zone at all. And I've always said I'm much happier below the stage than I am on the stage. And it's definitely a work in progress. And I think it will be a lifelong work in progress, because it's one of those things that it's just doesn't come naturally to me. There's some people who, Rita and I sing together in chorus, and you look around and there's some people singing and performing absolutely beautifully. Whereas I think I'm still focused on the fact that I need to get the notes and the words right. And that kind of takes precedence. And I think a lot of the time, if you're performing, it's like the fake it until you make it thing. You know, you put a lot of performance in and it kind of detracts a little bit from the fact that maybe you don't know exactly what you're doing. But I think I need to sometimes tell my face that I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like Rita, I must admit. I have performance anxiety. That's why I'm signing up to Dr. Susan Campbell's collective college session. Hopefully that'll be my first step out of that problem. Anybody else got anything to offer on this? Okay, so question 8 is about you thinking about how you're going to achieve your improvement. Okay, which might not immediately be obvious, but obviously it depends on what you'd like to improve. Like I've just said, I'm going to sign up to Dr. Susan Campbell. That's a start for me. Anybody else got any ideas for the first step to improve their weakness? Julia?
I'm going to sort of channel my inner small child and do things over and over again till I get them right, I think, really, and until I see improvement, because this is the most singing I've done ever in my life before. The amount of singing we've been doing has been brilliant. And I think if I can improve it with my confidence with my singing, then hopefully I can improve my confidence with my performing as well, and making myself do it and putting myself out there a little bit more, which I think we're probably all a little bit guilty of. We're sort of putting ourselves out there and singing with people and doing rehearsals and leading sections, leading choruses, all kinds of things that we do in our musical lives, but we possibly don't put ourselves out there as much. We kind of expect a lot from other people, but don't necessarily expect as much of ourselves, or think we're as sort of kind of achieve as much as we can. So I think I'm going to keep pushing myself, even if it's not something I'm particularly comfortable in. And I think sort of, yeah, trying to sort of push myself to do it a little bit more would be good.
Okay. Anybody else? Rita?
I think it might be a variation on the same thing, Julia, but I have a masochistic streak in me, and I know that performance scares the bejeebers out of me. So I put myself into as many situations as possible to scare myself rigid until hopefully it stops scaring me quite so much. Obviously, pandemic doesn't give you much opportunity for in-person performing, but I will step into every opportunity I can, whether it's singing or speaking, just to try and desensitize myself a little bit from it.
Okay, thanks, Rita. Thanks, Julia. Okay, Susan.
One thing that the collective allows us to do is, if we don't attend a session or we're not part of a session, many of them are recorded. And so if I'm not comfortable in a certain area, then I can watch a recorded session and learn from that and learn from my peers. And I do that quite often. I'll sneak up, or I have my favorites, and I watch them, and then I'll send off a note on Messenger or whatever to say I enjoyed it or what I learned. And I think that's something that is an advantage, because in the real world singing, you're there for 2 or 3 hours. You might make your own recording on a device, but it's not the same as being able to sit quietly and watch a whole 40-minute session with somebody else teaching. So I try to take all those resources and recycle them and watch them again, especially the ones that I don't like to run myself. Because I need to learn from the pros. I need to learn from the people that do a great job and try to, tuck it away for future.
I'm with you on that one. Brilliant. Thanks, Susan, for that. Okay, right. We're on to the last question. What are your main concerns about recording and hearing your recorded voice? Melanie?
I really don't mind recording, and I don't mind as much anymore to send it off, but I don't like listening to it. So normally I record and I'm like, yeah, well, I think I have it right, and I'll just send it off, so I don't have to hear it.
Okay, all right.
I do exactly the same thing, Melanie. I know as I've sung through, I'll know whether I've got a word wrong or I've got a note out of place, and then I'll do it again. But I never ever listen to the recordings, because I know if I listen to the recordings, I'd reject them.
Okay, it's that underlying theme, isn't it, of being too hard on yourself. Nicola?
I see. You've got to listen to them, because that way you learn to be kinder to yourself. If you keep listening to them, and then I know at the beginning I'd be like, oh, and when I did it for chorus pre-pandemic as well, I'd be recording them as section leader to send them out, and I'd be like, oh, do I really want to send this to everybody else to listen to? Maybe, maybe not. And actually listening to it, the more you listen to your own voice, the more you get used to it. I'm not saying I love it by any stretch of the imagination, but I am kinder to myself and listening to it, and then go. I usually record 3 on the trot. I'll sing 3. I'll press pause and carry recording, but I won't listen to them. I'll do 3, and then I'll listen back to those 3 later, not straight away. I give myself a bit of breathing space, maybe half an hour, or even the next day, and then come back to it, because you're much kinder to yourself then. When you're doing it, when you're in that kind of place, that's the bit for me, is to go away, come back to it, and you can look at it with fresh eyes, or listen to it with fresh ears, or whatever. But that way I'm kinder to myself, and I'm not so hypercritical anymore. It's like, right, those are the 3, which is the best of the 3? Okay, that one.
I like that. I'm going to adopt that. Julia?
When I've led self-evaluation sessions in the past, some interesting things have come up from singers. And a lot of people get very worried about the pressure to get recordings done in time and get them sent in. And I think I felt that as well to begin with. And I'm now, rather than trying to do it at the last minute, I find a time when I can record it, when I know that the children aren't in the house, I know that my husband's not in the house, and I can shut the cat somewhere and close the doors and remove the clocks and jangly bracelets and everything else that can be distracting. And I give myself a slot of time to do it. And if it's not working, I step away and I try another time. Whereas to begin with, I would have just kept going till my voice was run ragged, and I was just getting stressed and it wasn't working, and I'd get really mad with myself. And I've said this to singers, that if you try and do a recording sort of a week before it's due in, and then listen back to it, not, as Nicola said, not straight away, but listen to it a couple of hours later, or maybe the next day, then you often your ears are often kinder to you sort of a little bit later than doing it straight away. And it's taking that pressure away. And I think taking the pressure out of the situation makes anything a lot easier. And you're probably going to be kinder to yourself. And as Rita and Melanie said, I sing through it, the notes and the breaths and the words generally are right. And I'll have a listen to it, or I might play it back to my husband, and he'll generally go, yeah, it's fine. And that's a really great praise from him. So then I'll send it off. But I think that is a real concern. And it was a real concern for me to begin with, actually finding the time to get it done. But if you give yourself that, if you're kind enough to yourself that you give yourself time and you take the pressure off, I think it's a really good, helpful thing. And I think again, about hearing my voice recorded, I think we've all become more used to it, really. I think it's just a case of we've got to do it. We want to take part. We don't want to miss out. And it's never going to sound exactly the same as it would in any other situation, because you've normally got friends around you, or you've got music playing in the background. I mean, who records themselves on their phone and listens to it for pleasure? You know, you just don't. So I think it's kind of accepting the fact that your voice will sound a bit more bare than it normally would, and being more accepting of that.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Susan.
I am of the school of Julia and Nicola of recording early and not listening right away. And just recently, the last couple songs I've submitted, I record it, and then I wait, and then I turn the recording on later, almost as background music. Like, I'm not in the room, I don't have headphones on, I'm not nitpicking. I just listen, and if I can sing along, like I told you earlier, I sing all the time, hum along, and if I don't notice anything in that sort of distanced way of listening, then I'm like, oh, okay, not as bad as I thought. I guess I'll send that one, you know? And I really do try to do them early, because I've learned that it doesn't matter. There's always something that comes up later, and relaxing while I'm singing is like 95% of having a good tone for me. If I'm anxious or nervous or have stage, whatever you want to call it, stage fright, I can't get my breath, I can't get the notes. So I just, and doing it early helps me with that. So I do it early. I distance myself by a couple hours or maybe a day. I listen sort of as background noise and try not to be hypercritical.
Julia.
I have discovered the wonderful art of bubbling with the straw from Rhiannon, Claire and Tan's session that they did a long time ago now. So I make sure I always do that and I have it ready. I actually record barefoot because I have a memory foam playmat in my children's playroom, and it seems to dampen a lot of the sound if there's any echo, because we've got quite a lot of hard floors in our house. So I stand there barefoot with my bubbling device, and I think something about that. I always play the flute in stocking feet as well. Maybe, I don't know what it is. It just seems to help ground me literally and mentally, I guess.
It's all part of your yoga personality, I think. Can you do yoga positions and play the flute at the same time? No, don't think so. Yeah, okay. I mean, I've taken to recording just parts of songs, which I know I'm not very good at, you know, little parts. So I actually use recording for self-evaluation purposes, really. And I remember Karen Penker said something really interesting, because she said she records when she's practicing, because very often one of her practice records is the best one. Yeah, rather than, you know, do a sing through and then you say, oh, I wish I'd recorded that because that's brilliant. So, you know, perhaps we should record a lot more than we do. Right, Rhiannon.
Well, I'm going to say I'm totally opposite to everybody else, I'm afraid. I'm old enough now to know that I'm never going to do anything until the very last minute. So I stop worrying about it and I just do it at the last minute. Okay. So other than that, I was always, I need to do this, I need to do that, and that just builds up tension. And so I never got it done until the end anyway. I never do it until the last minute when it's needed. That's how I operate. And it's just the way I work. But, you know, having had this, that's okay, that's good enough, that'll be fine. And also having listened to the feedback, the tracks of other people sending in their recordings has helped me a lot, because when you listen to that, I know in the early days we were doing full tracks, weren't we? But now we're just doing sections. But even then you think, actually, that's okay. You know, they may have said one word wrong. Well, if you're going to do it again, you're going to be able to do that. But I say to people, if you get one word wrong, don't jettison the whole recording. It's going to be okay. You know, if there's something you do wrong, it can be taken care of. If it's good enough, use it. And that's kind of where I am. Sorry. But I know that's exactly where I am. So, you know, that's part of the self-evaluation process.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's really wonderful. Thanks, Ray. Right. So, anybody got any sort of general questions or anything they want to add before we finish? We're all smiling. So I'd just like to leave with a selfie. Oh, sorry, Nicola. Oh, Nicola.
I just said in listening to Rhiannon then, and how we are all different, and that if things that we've all said make you go, no, there's no way I'd do that. Like what Rhiannon said would give me massive anxiety, and I would be awful and in a real pickle. I would get myself into such a state I wouldn't be able to record it last minute or not. It just wouldn't happen. But for some people, that is the only way it's going to work, and that's fine as long as that's what suits you. Don't try and do it because someone else said it was a great idea. If it doesn't work for you, then that's what we've got to do. You've got to be kind to yourself and find the right thing for you.
Yeah, to do what works for you, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Know yourself well enough to be able to say that. That's the important thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicola. Thank you. Julia.
The live action Disney version of Cinderella that came out a few years ago, the main theme through it was have courage and be kind. And I think we all need to have a bit more courage and belief in ourselves and be kind to ourselves, as kind as we would be to anybody else. As Rhiannon said, when we're listening to other people's tracks, we're listening for all the positives, and we don't do that to ourselves. So we should do that a little bit more. Have courage and be kind.
Okay, let's have that as a mantra then, shall we? Be kind, be kind, be kind. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, folks. It's really been great, right, listening to your honesty and your openness, and I hope we've all learned something from each other. It's been a fantastic time together. Thanks very much, and see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody.